up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Oh, brother. Allergies are killing me this week.
I was about to say, are you good?
Are you dealing with this as well?
Did you not hear me last week?
I did hear you last week.
Yeah, I was congested as hell.
Yeah.
Are
you dealing with it this week?
It's a little bit better this week, but it's still there. I will say, I'm going to take the dub because I didn't lose my voice this time around.
Has that happened to you before?
It's happened to me the last, 3 years.
Really?
Yes.
To this day,
it'll just sneak up on me, and all of a sudden I won't be able to talk for about 2-3 days.
That's crazy. To this day, I've never lost my voice. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. It's something I haven't experienced yet.
It's not fun.
I can imagine.
No.
Gotta make life difficult.
Yeah. No, it happened once in high school, and then it's happened 3 of the 4 years I was in college, and it happened last year.
I need allergy hacks if you people have them. Been taking Mucinex. It's been doing an okay job. Still struggling. 405-651-3439 is how you interact throughout the show today on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Locked In, brought to you every single day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. If you find yourself in need of a new vehicle this football season, Dorsey Jones can hook you up with a GMC, which offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. They can take care of you with phenomenal service as well, including half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno is your one-stop shop. Grayson, we're going to keep talking about it because it's enormous news. But in advance of next Monday's decision from Peyton Houston, you and I were talking a little bit about this off air. It's time to start broaching the topic of how high this 2027 class could fly for the Sooners. Because for the first time in a minute, well, I guess it hasn't been terribly long, but as opposed to what is unfolded here in the 2026 or 2025 cycle, the Sooners, or no, it is the 2026 cycle. I'm so tied in mental knots.
Them allergies be doing that to you.
They do, for real. But the Sooners, they had Jaden O'Neal verbally committed for quite a while in the 2026 class. Eventually, Jaden O'Neal's pledge gave way to Bo Bentley's pledge as the Sooners and Ben Arbuckle kind of pulled off a quarterback switcheroo in their 26 cycle. As we look ahead to 27, if indeed Peyton Houston commits to Oklahoma, which is, as of right now, the consensus expectation across the industry, you kind of have the first prerequisite for an elite class officially set in place, which is you have to have, in most cases, an elite quarterback on the board early. And so if Peyton Houston chooses Oklahoma 15 months before National Signing Day, and he becomes the third commit of a 2027 class at Oklahoma that already includes 3-star offensive tackle Luke Wilson and 4-star wide receiver Deari Desern, who just committed yesterday out of Palisades, California, then odds are this is a team that for the first time in several cycles could legitimately compete for a top 5 slot nationally in the recruiting rankings. Now, this goes back to a conversation Steely and I had yesterday on these airwaves as well. Just because Oklahoma doesn't recruit a top 5 class, which isn't going to happen, which didn't happen in 2025, it's not going to happen here in the 2026 cycle. But just because Oklahoma doesn't recruit a top 5 class does not mean that they're falling behind or dropping the ball, because the 2025 cycle at Oklahoma finished, I believe, 18th in the country. But you've felt them already.
Yeah, you have.
Cortland Guillory
oh my goodness,
has been awesome. Michael Fasusi has been awesome. Ryan Foje has seen the field. Elijah Thomas hasn't played a snap at receiver yet, but he's been kind of a special teams demon.
I was going to say, he's been on kick coverage, has he not?
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Made a tackle on Saturday against Michigan. So you're feeling that 2025 class's impact, and you're feeling Michael Fasusi was the lone 5-star in that group. The expectation was that guy was going to be an absolute stud pretty quickly. Cortland Guillory, at least the day that he signed, he didn't come with all of the same heightened national expectations as Fasusi did, but he's been phenomenal. He's emerged as maybe Oklahoma's best cornerback to this point. And so the point I'm trying to make is that, yes, while you'd love to see your program recruit a top 5 class every single year, the recruiting rankings are not the end-all, be-all. Because ultimately, it doesn't matter how good a prospect is when you bring him in. What matters is that you develop him and that he buys in, which is a two-way street. Devon Mitchell was supposed to be the next big thing for Oklahoma at tight end, and look what happened.
We can't have a conversation like this without bringing him up, can we?
No doubt. I mean, that's a very conspicuous recent example of a guy that the OU staff just couldn't fix. They couldn't keep him in line as much as they tried. So the recruiting rankings are not the end-all, be-all, but no doubt there is generally a very clear top tier nationally every single year. And, there may be some years where there are 80 players in that tier. There may be years where there are 250 players in that tier. I know the feeling across the industry and certainly at Oklahoma right now is that the 2027 class is exceedingly deep at the top tier.
Yeah.
That this cycle has a deeper top tier than many of the previous cycles.
It's a really good one. It's a really good cycle.
And so if you lock in Peyton Houston and can start with his help to accumulate commitments from some of the elite prospects across the 2027 cycle, many of whom are in your home state. That's the other thing. It's not just a deep class nationally. It's a deep class in the state of Oklahoma.
Amen.
Then you could have something special brewing in the 27 class.
You definitely could, and they've got the ingredients to do so, because you mentioned the quarterback when you and I were talking off air, and you just mentioned so here. But also, this coaching staff has proven itself to be quite charismatic and quite welcoming, especially to people's parents, and that matters. Peyton Houston and his family fits that characteristic in terms of being a charismatic, outgoing people. So Peyton Houston is going to be that right quarterback, not just for you on the field, but to go out and pure recruit and get other dudes in there. The other thing that will go in line with that is, quite frankly, there's a lot of buzz around Oklahoma right now. You just won the most, prominent game of the weekend slate. And it does help them that the weekend slate was booty this past weekend because everybody was watching that game. But you handled your business on national television. So that matters too. So when you look at the 2027 class, I think that's going to be the best referendum on the new way of doing things. The 2026 class, I never thought was going to be a class where we have to judge Jim Nagy and judge this coaching staff and the remade front office on, because they just didn't get here early enough to really be able to have an imprint on it. You want a real judge and a real barometer as to what they can do. Look at what they're going to do in the 2027 class. And the dudes on the football field gave them a huge boost over the weekend, and I think that they're going to take that and run with it into the 2027 class. I expect a top 10 class pretty comfortably in 2027. For Oklahoma.
A 405 listener said you didn't even mention Tory Blaylock. Yeah, I knew I was forgetting something.
You did not.
My brain is not – it's half functioning today, folks. I don't know if it's the clogged sinuses or what. But, yeah, Tory Blaylock, another example of a guy that came in from a 2025 class that was regarded nationally as kind of a ho-hum haul for Oklahoma, and he's been a phenom, and he's earned playing time from the jump. Stutzman Army said, well, Devon Mitchell did end up being a big thing.
What?
Oh,
hey,
brother.
Hey, let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this as you were introing the segment.
What's that?
You know how in the NFL, the writers will do redrafts and will regrade everybody's drafts after you see the rookies maybe a year or two down the line. Do you think we start doing that in this industry when it comes to we're going to re-rank and redo the high school rankings once we see them in college? Because I tell you what, name me another Power 4 team who has had as much impact from true freshmen as Oklahoma's can. Yeah. Off the dome, I can't.
It's something I actually like to do 2 to 3 years down the road. Like re-ranking a class a year after all those guys sign is still a little bit premature.
That's a little early, yes.
But like 2 or 3 years down the line, I know it's something that I and other writers in the industry have done because it enables you to look back with some solid perspective. And for instance, if we were to do that right now, the most applicable class for Oklahoma would probably be the 2023 class, 22 or 23. You could render a pretty reliable judgment right now on both of those classes. 2022 turned out to be pretty dang solid for Oklahoma. There were some really good football players that came out of that class. R. Mason Thomas being one, Robert Spears Jennings, being another.
Yeah.
Gentry Williams was a 22 signee. Jacob Sexton, I know he's hurt, but he was a 22 signee. Who the heck else? Grayson Halton was a 22 signee. Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie. Like, that was a really, really solid class for Oklahoma. 2023, on the other hand, there are a couple guys that turned out okay. For the most part, though, boy, it is a wasteland when you look at that 23 class. It is rife with busts and guys that just didn't pan out for one reason or another.
It happens.
Exactly. I would have to go back and look at the tally, but I'm fairly certain Oklahoma signed 25 in that cycle, and something like 16 of those 25 are no longer at the University of Oklahoma.
It happens.
It does happen. 24, I think we will be able to look back in hindsight another year or two in the future and conclude that that class was another gem of a haul for Oklahoma.
And I think 2025 might be the same, too. Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, the realist says re-ranking players is called boredom. I guarantee you all would read them.
Yeah, you would.
You definitely
And you'd
would.
have takes. You'd have takes. Man, I'm glad Lincoln Riley cleared out of town. All his evals sucked. Outlaw Devil says, with Oklahoma State being hot garbage right now,
why, man?
what are the chances of 2026 recruits jumping ship, i.e. Taj Overton?
Almost forgot I was on the radio there. Hey, man. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea if they hold on to Taj Overton and Caden Jones and Trey McLaughlin and all the dudes in Oklahoma that they've got committed. I don't know what they do because that program looks like it's on the fast track to nowhere right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal state of affairs. I'll say this. I don't think Oklahoma would pursue Caden Jones at this point. They love DeZephan Walker. He's the only running back in their class for the moment, and they have every intention of keeping it that way. I don't think they would pursue Braden. Well, you know what? Braden Presley might be the one that they would. I don't think they would pursue Taj Overton at this point because they have 3 defensive tackle commits.
They don't need to.
They don't need Taj Overton at this point. And Taj Overton had his chance. He chose Oklahoma State, and OU filled up their class with other football players. And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Braden Presley, because of his versatility and because it is a pretty thin class for Oklahoma right now in the secondary, there is a world where I could see OU looping back around there if there was reason to do so. But if Mike Gundy is dismissed by Oklahoma State, I don't think it's going to be this month or next month for that matter.
No.
When a guy's been the head coach at his alma mater for 20-plus years, you're going to let him finish out the season before you make the move.
And I think Mike Gundy will leave somewhat on his own volition. I don't think he's just going to be outright canned by Oklahoma State. A couple of people on the text line want a Cooper Witten update.
A Cooper Witten update. Well, here's the update on Cooper Witten. Yes, he was in town over the weekend. Yes, Oklahoma made a good impression. Yes, Oklahoma has been recruiting him longer than any other P4 school because they were the very first school to offer him. They're a serious player for Cooper Witten. Would I go as far as to say they're the outright leader for Cooper Witten? No. I don't think that is a battle that is decided until OVs. OU is in the fight. which is really all you can ask for at this juncture. In the fight. Tattoo Baker says, "Come on, Grayson, tell us how you feel about Mike Gundy."
I feel like I've said this before on these airways. I'm not the biggest Mike Gundy fan. A little archaic for me. With the way he calls football, with the way he runs his offense, with the way he hasn't adjusted. I mean, he has not adjusted to the new landscape of college football at all. And it's kind of set the program back. That's why when I say the program at Oklahoma State is on the fast track to nowhere, it is going nowhere until Mike Gundy is no longer the head coach.
Let's hit one more text before we hit a break here. Zach from Guthrie says, "Can you go over the kid that just committed? Heard he's really fast, but not even sure what position he plays." Yeah, Zach, I would encourage you, when you get the opportunity, it'll take you 5 minutes or so, head to Huddle, check out Deari Desern's tape, because I think you'll be excited by the player that you see on tape. He's versatile. He can line up in the backfield. He can split out wide. He's a jackknife type of weapon, Swiss Army knife type of weapon, I suppose more accurately, for his offense out there at Pacific Palisades High School, or Palisades High School in Pacific Palisades, California. And he's a 10-3-2 guy in the 100 meters. So he can run, and more than that, the start-stop ability that he has, acceleration, deceleration, is genuinely elite. He's not just a straight line guy. He can weave through traffic, excellent return man, a home run threat every single time he's got the football in his hands. So, as far as the building blocks for the 2027 class are concerned, if you can hold that one all the way until signing day, that's a guy that you'll be able to do a lot of different things with when he shows up to Norman, America, to enroll at the University of Oklahoma. It will be interesting to me, Grayson. I'm not trying to cast doubt on the solidity of Deari Desern's commitment, but I do always take it with a grain of salt when a kid commits off just one visit.
I was about to say,
because that is the only time that Deari Desern has been to Oklahoma.
I was just about to ask you. That was rather quick.
I've seen some of those commitments stick. I've seen a lot of those commitments fall through at a certain point. So, something obviously that we'll be monitoring over the next 15 months until National Signing Day in December of 2026 for Deari Desern and all of his compatriots in the 2027 class. But for the moment, he is verbally committed to Oklahoma, and that's a pickup that OU fans can be really, really excited about. Okay, 405-651-3439 is how you get in touch with us on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. More ahead here on Locked In. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hi, folks. This is Larry Knippelmeyer here at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, USA. Conveniently located just 15 minutes south of Oklahoma City and 10 minutes west of Norman. With all the talk of inflation, market crashes, and tariffs, it's no wonder we're all afraid to make that new vehicle purchase. Now, with that being said, there will probably never be a better time to purchase your new Chevrolet at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet. No price increase or tariffs on our huge selection of in-stock vehicles. Pickups, SUVs, cars, and even Corvettes, all marked down and ready to sell. Interest rates are good, used vehicle trade-ins are high, and rebates and incentives are back on most new Chevrolets. So hop in that old vehicle and come see us at Knippelmeyer Chevrolet in Blanchard, where nobody beats our deal. Or give us a call at 405-485-3333 or catch us on the web at knippelmeyer.com. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Don't miss out on OKC's hottest entertainment at the Showplace Theater with acts like
Bret Michaels, September 27th. Collective Soul, October 17th. And the Oak Ridge Boys, November 28th.
Riverwind is OKC's favorite casino experience.
There's never a perfect moment to talk to your kids about the dangers of tobacco. So, how about right now? We're giving you the rest of this ad time so you can talk with your kids. Not quite ready? Find everything you'll need to start the conversation at talkabouttobacco.com. Brought to you by TSET.
Ready to jumpstart your future? Start planning now to train for a high-demand, high-wage career in healthcare, construction, IT, manufacturing, or STEM while you're still in high school. Moore Norman Technology Center applications open September 15th for high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Talk to your MNTC rep at school or visit mntc.edu to learn more. Change your life, build your tomorrow, start your future now at Moore Norman Technology Center. Winning in business means having the right teammate. Stride Bank's commercial banking experts are here with treasury management, lending, and cash flow solutions designed to help your business score big. From local startups to established enterprises, we've got the tools and expertise you need. Visit stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC. Stride Bank on your team since 1913 with Oklahoma roots and nationwide reach.
This is Jake Aldridge, partner at Aldridge Teasdale. We know accidents happen when you least expect them, but if you're injured, your path to recovery and justice starts with the right attorney by your side. At Aldridge Teasdale, we understand that every injury is personal and that every story matters. You deserve an advocate who will fight for you. But don't wait. If you need medical assistance, you need to get it now, and we can help you with access to the best doctors in Oklahoma. Call Aldridge Teasdale today, 405-447-HURT. That's 405-447-4878.
For 3 generations, the John M. Ireland & Son Funeral Home and Chapel in Morris continued to serve the community by giving back to local schools, charitable organizations, and first responders.
We provide pre-planning for funerals and cremation services at the most reasonable prices.
We are proud to be a family-owned and operated funeral home.
Award-winning funeral home year after year, our family believes in serving the people of our community.
I'm John Ireland.
And I'm Solon Daniels.
You've got our word on it.
Locked In rolls on here on the ref. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton. Here with you talking OU football and recruiting. And as we prepare for Peyton Houston's announcement next Monday, I knew somebody was going to bring this up. A 918 listener asked, do you remember Brent Rawls, a former OU QB from Evangel Christian Academy? Yeah. Is he... No, I guess he's not the last Evangel Christian Academy alumnus that would have signed with Oklahoma, because I do believe Tristan Ross came from Evangel, too. Now, Chance Sylvie a few years back was a Shreveport guy. I don't think he was an Evangel Christian guy. But there was a time that OU was rostering 2 former Evangel Christian Academy Eagles in Brent Rawls and Tristan Ross. You would hope that Peyton Houston, if he indeed chooses the University of Oklahoma, pans out a little better than Brent Rawls did. I don't believe Brent Rawls ever played a snap of college football at the University of Oklahoma or elsewhere. And if anyone has information that could refute that, let me know, because I'm just shooting from the hip there. But as I recall, he never played at Oklahoma, transferred to Louisiana Tech, and never played there either. And he wound up playing it. What was it called? What was the indoor football league like 20 years ago called?
The Arena Football League?
No, not the Arena Football League. It was the AF2. AF2 is what they called it. Maybe that probably stands for Arena Football. Now that I think about it,
never heard of that.
But I believe he played AF2 ball.
Well, look, if he was relegated to only playing AF2 ball, whatever the hell that is, past high school, we would hope Peyton Houston pans out just slightly better than that.
Reformed Homer says, make sure he stays out of the back of pickups. Yes, that's the infamous story with Brent Rawls, is that he fell out the back of a pickup truck. And that kind of...
And he couldn't play football anymore?
Well, it wasn't that he couldn't play football anymore. It was just... It was a very notable incident that involved... I think Dusty Dvoracek was the one driving the pickup, right?
Oh, God.
Do I have that right? A 4 or 5 listener says, I can confirm Rawls was playing blackjack at 3 a.m. in Shreveport.
Okay,
right
just
after
based on the text line, like, was He like some alcoholic with a gambling problem or something?
I mean,
I'm getting all this information from the text line.
It was just, man, he was, and I was like, I would have been like 5 years old at the time.
I was
don't
about to
know,
say,
man,
I don't think
but
I was
like,
born.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Rawls never played a snap at the University of Oklahoma, even as highly regarded of a prospect as he was. 405 listener says, Bob Stoops was pissed. I can imagine he was. A 918 listener with some clarity for us. AF2 was the league underneath the AFL.
Gotcha.
So it was like minor league AFL. The Tulsa Talons were in that league. I have never in my life heard of the Tulsa Talons.
Nope.
You learn
neither have I.
something new every day. 405-651-3439. That's why we have the text line, because a lot of people far more informed and smarter than we are. And thank you. The listener chimed in to say I was remembering it correctly. He never even got eligible at Louisiana Tech. So, never played there for the Bulldogs either. Man, Oklahoma's not going to get the chance to host recruits, obviously, for another week and a half. This weekend, they go up to Temple to take on the Owls in what is a pretty nondescript road game, all things considered. But it is worth noting, and we probably should start talking about it, because it's going to be an important recruiting weekend when Oklahoma does come back home. They're going to host 2 official visitors at the Auburn game, in 3-star linebacker Jacob Curry and 3-star wide receiver Braden Allen. Now, Jacob Curry, as of right now, is uncommitted. He was previously committed to Northwestern, backed off that pledge. He's going to OV at the Auburn game. Braden Allen is still technically committed to Tulane, but that is not expected to hold. Colorado, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, all pushing to flip him. But the word is that OU is the school that is best positioned to pull it off with Braden Allen. And they've had him on campus before. He was in town for the Crimson Combine back in early April. He did not have an offer at the time, didn't pick up the offer until July. But that relationship's been building for quite some time. And I'll tell you, man, internally, there's a ton of confidence that even before they show up, that both of these guys are going to wind up committing to Oklahoma and become members of the Sooners 2026 class. And so at that point, you're looking at what is a really, really robust group. KJ Ford, at this point, probably not happening. Davion Gross, at this point, probably not happening. So, honestly, after Curry and after Allen, after their collective OV, the weekend of September 20th, if you can get those 2 locked in, that gets you to 21 commits. And then it feels like OU's pretty much done, Grayson. Feels like they're pretty much done, with the exception of, okay, maybe down the stretch you want to swing big at a huge flip target. Maybe a Booby Feaster, perhaps. But as far as guys that are out there on the market right now, feels like Oklahoma's going to pretty much wrap things up with these 2, and then take the last 3 months of the cycle to just kind of see what you can make shake with big-time prospects that are committed to other schools.
And keep this in mind when it comes to Oklahoma. If they don't do anything past these guys, I think you're good with what you've got at that point. I would say you're good even without Jacob Curry. I would say you're good kind of even without Braden Allen. I know you want another wide receiver, but you can go and get those in the transfer portal, like what Oklahoma just proved over the past of 2 seasons, because the top 3 receivers that have played all the snaps are all transfers in the last 2 years. They're going to get Javonte Gibson back, another transfer. So you're kind of good already with where you are at. But I will say this, and Owen Heineke's performance made me think of this. Is Oklahoma becoming pretty good at developing unsung stars? And look, I've watched the Jacob Curry tape. I'll be frank. Doesn't excite me. I will say, I will be honest and say it doesn't excite me. But. If they took a dude who was playing lacrosse somewhere else in the country not that long ago and turned him into a dude who played very, very well against Michigan, what could they do with Jacob Curry? And I think Oklahoma's coaching staff, whether it's the offensive side of the ball or not, has positioned itself to be able to turn some dudes that we're not thinking too much of into dudes that can have a statement game sometime in a season. So look, I think you're good with both your blue chippers and with your dudes that are going to be projects. I like this class.
And honestly, if you like this class, and I know for a fact Jim Nagy and that Oklahoma front office, they like this class, I think you're good at 21 commits. The Sooners are going to graduate 18 players this coming offseason. You will lose some to the transfer portal, no doubt. But if you're losing 18, bringing in 21, that number's roughly jive with one another. That's about the size of a class that you want, and you're not going to add bodies just for the sake of adding bodies.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening right now with some of these 2025 signees, I think, is certainly evidence that you don't necessarily need numbers. You don't necessarily need quantity if you have quality. If Oklahoma had taken, I don't know, what's an example of a position group where they signed a pretty thin class last year? Let's say they took another young wide receiver in last year's class. Would have bumped the ranking a little bit higher, but we haven't seen Elijah Thomas or Manny Choice play a snap to this point in the young season.
I mean, to be honest, we haven't seen anybody outside of
exactly,
three dudes
like nobody right now is really
receiver.
clamoring for Elijah Thomas or Manny Choice to get on the field because of how well those three starters, Deion Burks, Isaiah Satania, Keontae Lewis, have played to this point. And so 21, like that's a fine class. To me, if you add Jacob Curry and you add Braden Allen and that's it, and you're unsuccessful in flipping Boobie Feaster, unsuccessful in flipping any other targets that you may push for down the stretch, that right there is a class that's probably going to finish like 15th, maybe? 15th in the country? And there are folks that are going to have beef with that. That's understandable. I get it. But again, ultimately it's about the quality of the evaluations. It's about the hit rate that you can pull off with the guys that you do sign. And everybody wanted to poo-poo Oklahoma's 2025 recruiting class in the moment because it was small, too small. Sign some more dudes. You're really going to cut Grayson Harris and Marcus Harris loose? And I'll be honest, like I expressed some, I didn't necessarily disagree with the decision to cut Marcus Harris loose. I was disappointed that they cut Grayson Harris loose just because that guy had been committed literally longer than anybody in Oklahoma's class at that point, and he was all in for Oklahoma, and it was unfortunate that there he was a week before signing day having to find a new destination for himself. But if Oklahoma did hit a home run with even 8-9 of these guys, half the class, I don't think anybody's going to be looking back on the 2025 cycle as a major disappointment for OU. No. And I think the odds are very high that they did hit a home run. Even right now, I think we can make that judgment with several players in particular. Torrey Blaylock, Michael Fasusi, Cortland Guillory, Ryan Foje. Those four, yes, hit, check mark.
You're already putting a home run on Foje and Fasusi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Jury's still out, but looking good. Elijah Thomas, Malik Hawkins. Who else? Trent Wilson. So 7, I would say. I'm really high long-term on Manny Choice's upside, and he had some really, really strong moments. I don't know that he's a guy that is going to see much action in 2025 because of how much depth Oklahoma has there, but I think that one's trending in the right direction for Oklahoma as well. So call it 8 of the 18. And then Trinae Washington is a guy that internally everybody seems to be high on. If Oklahoma hit on those 9, it's a good class. It's a really good class. 405 listener said, Boobie sounds too much like Buki. That's the first
Maybe to you.
That's the first time that particular sentiment has ever been expressed with regard to Booby Feaster. There are a lot of things you can say about Booby Feaster's name. That's the first time I've heard a fan express, it's too close to Buki for my comfort. Blue from Green Country says, no need to take all your chances with unproven high school kids. And yeah, man, and we had this conversation a couple weeks back. When it comes time for Oklahoma to fill the gaps in the transfer portal, I have no doubt that they're going to go and pursue a couple of positions in particular. I would think they're looking for an experienced defensive end at the end of the year. I would think they're looking for an experienced offensive tackle at the end of the year. And maybe they're looking for a tight end. Well, almost certainly they're looking for a tight end at the end of the year because the guy that's been great at that position so far is Jaren Kanak, and this just happens to be his last year of eligibility.
Yep.
The only other guy that's played substantial snaps besides Jaren Kanak at tight end, Will Huggins, another guy who's on his last year of eligibility. So you're going to need to reload there. Dan in Madison, Mississippi, you forgot the two safeties from Arkansas. Yeah, Amarian Robinson, Marcus Wimberly. Those guys are going to play. They were optimistic Marcus Wimberly was going to have a year one role before he got hurt. Had to undergo shoulder surgery. And Amarian Robinson is somebody that you're probably going to see at a certain point. The Bleeper asking, where did Grayson Harris wind up? He rejoined forces with Jeff Lebby down in Starkville, Mississippi. So
big win for them.
He is a Bulldog. Okay, folks, 405-651-3439. One final segment to talk all matters of OU football and recruiting. On the other side, keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
The word is spreading, and the Ref Army is growing. Keep telling your friends and family that there's only one station for true Sooner fans, and that's the Ref Radio Sports Network, and worldwide on the KREF app.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
The Cardinals jersey hoodie is here, presented by Bear. On Saturday, September 20th, when the Birds take on the Brewers, the first 20,000 fans 16 and older get this one-of-a-kind hoodie. It's perfect for game day, chill nights, or just showing your Cardinals pride anywhere you go. Don't miss out. It's a hoodie you have to have. That's Saturday, September 20th. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Nolan Arenado, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
F5 IPA by Coop Bellworks doesn't just hit, it touches down. Brace yourself for a hop-reckoning punch that'll blow your taste buds away. An iconic original that takes the proud title of Oklahoma's #1 selling IPA. Be sure to raise an F5 on game day.
Beat the heat at Hey Pickle Pickle, Heyday Entertainment's brand new pickleball facility. With 5 indoor courts, Oklahoma summer won't be able to stop you from getting your game on. Learn more at heypicklefun.com, and remember, drink responsibly.
Oklahoma DRS helps job seekers with disabilities become taxpayers.
Their whole thing is to help people with disabilities go back to work.
They knew that I would be successful if I did not give up.
They have given me the power and confidence to face any challenge.
I'm just glad that, DRS was there. Empower yourself. Talk to DRS Vocational Rehabilitation.
Or services for the blind today.
OKDRS.gov. 800-487-4042.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Hi, I'm Ashton and I'm with the nonprofit Fostering Futures. Every day, children are removed from their homes due to abuse and neglect. In these critical moments, we step in to support these vulnerable kids. We work alongside child welfare workers to meet the essential needs of safety, stability, and healthy connections, as well as providing enrichment opportunities. But we can't do this important work without your support. Consider donating at fosteringfuturesok.org. Together, we can offer children a brighter future.
Hey Sooners, I'm OU alum and Boyd Street Ventures founder James Spann. Some players are just built different, and so are some companies. At Boyd Street Ventures, we find under-the-radar Oklahoma companies with the drive, grit, and talent to win big. Our portfolio is growing fast, and so is our investor interest. Fund 1 closes December 31st, so don't wait. To learn more, visit BoydStreetVentures.com. That's BoydStreetVentures.com. Under the radar, above the crowd.
Football is finally back in Norman. Whether you're just after a quick pickup or feeding the whole team, Chick-fil-A on 12th Avenue has you covered. With dine-in, drive-thru, and delivery options on any size order, we've got no problem taking it all the way to the house. In fact, it would be our pleasure. Try fueling up at your next tailgate with a pretzel cheddar club or cool down with the seasonal cherry berry drinks. Call the 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A at 405-310-3189 or use the Chick-fil-A One app. And remember to eat more chicken. Man, I tell you, Grayson Singleton, if Cortland Guillory is not already a fan favorite at the University of Oklahoma, he is quickly becoming one.
You talking about the TikTok comment?
Yes, I am. In case you missed it, somebody, I can't tell who, in this screenshot that was posted to Twitter, but somebody made a TikTok that reads as follows. POV, it's September 20th, and this guy has 100 yards rushing and 250 in the air against Oklahoma. And it's a video of Jackson Arnold high-fiving fans on his way into an Auburn game.
Oh, it gets funnier.
And Cortland Guillory hops in the comments and goes, "Hey, I love waking ninja emoji up to reality."
I was wondering how you were going to play that. Well done.
That comment, as of the time of the screenshot, had 1,115 likes. That dude, man, he's got the right attitude for the position that he plays in particular. Because if you're going to play cornerback, which is such a demanding position to play, like, you have to be so athletic and so technically proficient and so physical to play that position at a high level. But you also got to have a certain type of attitude, man. And, like, he's got it.
My pops used to tell me that corners are crazy people. And they really are. I mean, they are wired differently. And Cortland Guillory fits the bill 100%. I mean, when you're on an island with one single person the entire day and you got to go one-on-one with that dude every single play for, 50, 60 plays on a night, you got to be some kind of crazy. That's why receivers are nuts too. I mean, those two, like, you have to have some level of, and I mean this affectionately, but you do have to have some level of idiot in you to be a corner or a receiver.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting characterization, but it's pretty accurate for the most part.
It really is.
Man.
It really is.
Oh, I love Cortland Guillory, man.
Oh, no, Here we go. 580 Mike Honcho says, please tell us what the ninja emoji means.
It means folks.
Did you say it means folks?
Yep.
All right,
that's the FCC appropriate way.
We can go with that. Sure.
It means folks.
Why not?
Oh, man. A 918 listener says, I haven't heard anything about EPL in a while. Sorry if I've missed an update. Just curious, what is his status? Well, he's a reserve guard right now. I mean, your starter at left guard is Heath Ozida. Your starter at right guard is Fabechi Wiwu. That doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. That wouldn't appear to be changing anytime soon, especially because I think there's a very strong argument to be made, Grayson, especially upon rewatch, that Heath Ozida and Fabechi Wiwu both played the best games of their Oklahoma careers on Saturday against Michigan.
Would agree.
They were tremendous. That entire offensive line was tremendous. Austin Dave with a good question. I'm sure this is something we will continue to unpack throughout the week as we get ready for Philly. But he says, assuming we find ourselves with a comfortable lead in the Temple and or Kent State game, which freshmen besides the starters do you think we will see on the field? Got to be Elijah Thomas, right? Like that's the
you
dude
would think.
Yeah, Elijah Thomas to me is the cleared first answer that springs to mind among guys that we haven't seen yet. I would say you're probably going to see Malik Hawkins as well. You're probably going to see Amarian Robinson. And you're probably going to see Trent Wilson. I would start with those four.
Let me ask you this, since this question came up. We heard Brent Venables talk about what they want to do with Michael Hawkins. Michael Hawkins. Let me make sure I emphasize that. Yesterday. Is there a chance we see him in one of those games? Or are they just saying, nah, and just trying to only put him in if necessary?
I think you will probably see him against Temple and Kent State.
Okay.
Assuming those games are well in hand, I think you will see Michael Hawkins at that point. If you use him for 2 games in garbage time just to get him some reps, get him some on-field action, then essentially what you're saying is we can deploy him in another 2 games of our choosing without burning his red shirt. And obviously, if he has to play more than 2 games, if he has to play more than 1 game the rest of the way, something went wrong.
Yes.
And it probably means John Mateer is missing extended time, at which point Michael Hawkins is almost assuredly burning the red shirt anyway. So, yeah, I think it's a safe bet that assuming those games are well in hand and Oklahoma's dominating the opponent the way they ought to dominate, yeah, you'll see Michael Hawkins against Temple and Kent State. I'm just curious to see if and when we see Whit Neubauer. He's a freaking huge dude, man.
Yeah. Let me, speaking of the quarterback, let's go back to the Illinois State game, for example.
Okay.
Because they never got to a point where they took the starters out of the game.
Yeah.
Do you think that'll be something they do differently against Temple if they are up by the same margin?
Well,
and also remember, they didn't blow the doors off of Illinois State either.
No, they didn't. And, it was just – it was kind of bizarre how that whole game played out because it didn't really feel like there was an effort on Oklahoma's part to blow the doors off.
Agreed.
It was more just they wanted everybody that was going to start the following week at the skill positions in particular to get as many reps as possible together. And oddly enough, the offensive line that we saw in that Week 1 game didn't resemble the offensive line that we saw in Week 2. There was a lot of turnover there.
Yep.
But, in fact, I think the only guy that started Game 2 that also started Game 1 was Fabechi Wiwu. But I didn't hate it. I had my questions about it, but in retrospect, I didn't hate it in the days that followed because you were getting ready for Michigan and certainly working some guys back into the fold that had been unavailable for certain portions of fall camp, namely a guy like Keontez Lewis at wide receiver, Deion Burks as well. Both of them missed time in camp. Isaiah Satania had missed time as well. So if you were just trying to get your first team skill guys on the same page with John Mateer leading into your first huge test of the season, it makes sense in that respect. And it also makes sense if you want to, as Brent Venables said yesterday, ensure that you don't burn Michael Hawkins' red shirt before you have to.
Yeah.
So, again, I think he probably plays against Temple and Kent State. I understand why he didn't play against Illinois State. Reformed Homer says, I guess I will ask, what about Tatum? Taylor Tatum he's a guy I just don't know about right now. I have no idea what his role looks like the rest of the season. No idea at all. Because right now, let's be real, Grayson. He's 5th on the pecking order in the backfield. He is 5th on the pecking order behind Jaden Ott, Javonte Barnes, Torrey Blaylock, and Xavier Robinson. So, yeah, he's been banged up, but even if he was healthy, do you see him in any meaningful scenario this season, barring injuries further up the depth chart?
Not really.
I'd hope Taylor Tatum gets the chance to hit the field this weekend against Temple or the weekend of October 4th against Kent State, because it feels like he's going to need a strong performance in one of those games to be able to just put himself back on the radar for the coaching staff as a guy that they're willing to put on the field in SEC play.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jaden Ott is your RB1 until further notice. Until he proves he's not, he's the guy. Torrey Blaylock has taken every opportunity and done well with it to the point that he's vaulted towards the top of the depth chart. Javonte Barnes is always going to have a role because he's the best pass protector you have, and you're going to need that guy. And then Xavier Robinson, I mean, you can't shuffle him out of the rotation completely, not after the way that he closed the 2024 campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. And look, I don't know how I feel about Jaden Ott as the number one on the depth chart until proven otherwise coming off of last week. But can we ever look at a depth chart and know exactly how the running backs are going to be deployed with DeMarco Murray as the head coach? It's just unpredictable.
It is quite unpredictable. John from the Colleen, Texas wants to know, I'm curious, did Oklahoma ever offer John Mateer a scholarship when he was at Flower Mount? Well, he was actually at Little Elm.
He's Little Elm.
And no Power 4 school outside of Washington State. Well, Power 5 at the time. No Power 5 school at the time outside of Washington State offered John Mateer a scholarship. I think his only other FBS offer was New Mexico State. So it was one or the other, and hey, if you can go play for Eric Morris, you're going to go play for Eric Morris. And John Mateer went to go play for Eric Morris. Dan in Madison wants to know, hey, what happened to the Dent kid from Mississippi? How's he doing? Yeah, Isaiah Autry Dent, he underwent a minor offseason surgery and was not wholly available throughout fall camp. And right now, your tackle situation looks pretty solidified. Michael Fasusi at left tackle, and then Derek Simmons at right tackle. Logan Howland as a swing guy that could play either one. Luke Baklenko is also a swing guy that can play either one. So probably not going to see much of Isaiah Autry Dent this season. However, there will be an opportunity for him to compete for that starting right tackle job next year because Derek Simmons is graduating. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have to step up and be ready. Have to step up and be ready to challenge Howland and potentially Baklenko, and who knows whether Jake Taylor is still around. That's another guy that's very much in the mix, or should be in the mix if he's back, although it must be acknowledged that he may be looking for greener pastures come this offseason if he indeed just remains a second team or a little more at Oklahoma. But it's another guy that Autry Dent's going to have to be able to compete with. But I know they love his athleticism. They love his upside. They tried to find snaps for him down the stretch last season, especially in that main game, and they're excited about what he can be in the long run.
One-star Boomer Bryce says, if y'all had to pick who's better or has more potential, Bo Bentley or Peyton Houston?
I got asked the same question last night in a board thread at OUinsider.com, and here's what I would say, Boomer Bryce. I don't know, and here's why. What have we learned from the Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Arnold, John Mateer succession at the University of Oklahoma? What we ought to have learned from the last 4 years of quarterback play at the University of Oklahoma is that elite physical traits matter less than having excellent processing and decision-making ability.
Amen.
Dylan Gabriel and John Mateer are not the same type of specimen that Jackson Arnold is with regard to running ability, although John Mateer is no doubt a really, really good runner. He's not as fast as Jackson Arnold is.
No.
As far as foot speed, as far as arm talent, Dylan Gabriel and John Mateer are not what Jackson Arnold is, but that didn't matter. Because the one thing that Jackson Arnold lacked, at least while he was at Oklahoma, that Dylan Gabriel and John Mateer had in spades was the ability to process quickly and make correct decisions with the football and avert risk. And so between Bo Bentley and Peyton Houston, they're both dudes that have elite physical traits. No question. And that's what you love to see as a baseline for any quarterback prospect you're bringing in. What it's going to come down to with those dudes is when they get on a college football field, how is their mind working? How effectively are they processing and diagnosing and getting the ball out on schedule and extending plays when they need to extend plays? And just generally being the hand on the tiller of a collegiate offense. They're both capable of it, as I see it. I think they're both great decision makers. Which one is going to wind up being better? I couldn't tell you right now. I don't know how anyone could know right now. But at a certain point, there's going to be a quarterback competition between those two if Houston chooses Oklahoma, and it's going to be a really fun competition that the winner will have worked dang hard to win. All right, folks, that's all for Locked In here on a Wednesday. Tyler McComas and Teddy Lehman coming up next here on The Rush. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.